And please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements, Marcy?
No announcements.
No announcements. All right, why don't we skip the minutes and go right to the special presentation?
Sure.
Occasionally, we have presentations here, generally with various kids from the schools, and frankly, it usually reminds us why we are on school board, because it always makes us feel good. So with that said, we have a BMS music performance, and Matt, take it away.
Chorus, jazz band, select chorus, wind ensemble, and string ensemble, and theater. As March is Music in Our Schools Month, we are excited to present some music for you today. We will feature our BMS Wind Ensemble and BMS Select Chorus. These groups are a few ensembles that are in addition to our traditional band and chorus programs. Many students you see here tonight play numerous instruments and sing. In order for us to perform, we have to learn all the details of reading music and transfer that language system to our instruments. In order for us to perform for you tonight, we have consistently critiqued, analyzed, and revised our work. Throughout the year, the music programs in our district have numerous performances in both Bow and Dunbarton. The Collective Performing Arts Department puts on roughly 20 performances, ranging from elementary school grade level performances to various performing ensembles and theater. We have extended outward into the greater community, and one of the highlights of our year at BMS was our holiday performances at White Rock and Bow Elementary School to a wonderful audience. We have students participating in festivals including NHBDA Middle School Honors, NHMEA Southwest Festival, Granite State Invitational Music Festival, NHMEA Jazz All-State, and NHMEA Classical All-State. BMS will have several students participate in the Honors Band Festival on Monday, and 11 students across strings, band, and chorus for the NHMEA Southwest Festival. Outside of traditional performances and festivals, you can see our students perform at sporting events and graduation, as well as the instrument demonstrations for fourth graders in the spring. As students, we feel like participating in performing ensembles has been a great way for us to follow our passion for music. Everyone enjoys the commitment and ownership of each member in the group. We also like that no matter who you are accepted as a member of the various ensembles. Some of our favorite moments are the performances, but we also really like that we can learn through different experiences, like the ensembles that you see tonight. Today, our wind ensemble will be performing God Bless America and a classic from the Great American Songbook, Bye Bye Blackbird. Thank you for allowing us to join you tonight.
All right, this song that we're going to sing for you guys tonight is a song called Four Chords. And as the title suggests, the song only has 4 chords. And the point of the song is it's a mashup of a ton of pop songs throughout the last 60 to 70 years. While we are singing these songs for you, little clips from all these different songs, our challenge to you guys is to try to count and see how many songs are in our mashup. It's going to go by quickly. You ready?
Don't stop believing.
You knew that song.
Hold on to the feeling.
Not so fast. You know a lot of those songs use the same 4 chords. What are you talking about?
1, 5, 6 minor, 4. My life is brilliant. My life is pure. I saw an angel. Of that I'm sure. People kill and people die and children hurt and hear them cry. Can you practice what you preach? Can you turn the other cheek? Forever young, I want to be forever young. I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours. Lipstick stains on the front lobe of my left side brain. I knew I wouldn't. Can you feel the love tonight? Won't you take me home to the place where I belong? I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. Paparazzi. I can't live with or without you. And she will be loved. And she will be loved.
When I
Find myself in times of trouble, Mary wants to me. I come rolling down the red, white, and blue. The funny things you do, America, America. I don't think I could understand. Have to go and make things so complicated. See the way you act when something falls right. It's too late.
just
Gonna sit there and watch me burn. That's alright, 'cause I like the way it hurts. It's my life, it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. Can't read my, no, they can't read my poker face. Come on, Barbie, let's go play. All acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. More than a flame, I'm a bird. Don't stop believing. Hold on to the feeling. Don't stop believing. 5, 6 minor, 2, 4, 4 chords.
Any guesses? 24, 28. Any other takers? Higher bidders, maybe? How many? 23. There you go. All righty. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. What happened? We cleared the room out.
I was so afraid there was
It's funny how that happens.
They were great, though. I was.
Yeah, they were. Although, do you think the kids knew? Do you guys know any of those songs? I mean, how many of those, out of 24 songs, do you really know most of those songs?
There were probably like 5 I didn't know.
Really?
It's funny, because I was thinking the same thing as
Yeah.
I was like singing along to all the songs
Yeah.
in my head. I'm like, I bet these kids don't know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like my child.
All right, let's circle back then to the February 10th meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Second.
Any comments? Wendy, was this your work? Fine work. I did not see anything wrong with it. I thought it looked awesome. Anyone else? Hearing nothing, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Excellent. Any public comment? Any public comment? Too early? You got a couple opportunities. All right. All right. All right. Anybody else? No? All right. I do expect a fairly short meeting tonight, actually, so keep that in mind. Marcy, anything to add to your report?
Not necessarily to add, but we're just to say that we're really excited about the upcoming PD dates, a format that we haven't used before. I think Owen talked about it last month, the unconference. A number of our own staff, including Dwayne and myself and Adam and Lori, are doing sessions for different staff members who sign up. So we're looking forward to that day. It's going to be a neat experience.
Any questions or comments for Marcy? Marcy, I'll say one. If I was playing a game of Scrabble, would unconference be allowed in that game of Scrabble?
I think so.
That's not a word I've ever heard before.
It's becoming more common in not just our field. I think it's a thing. An unconference is actually a thing.
Okay.
So I'd say yes.
Any other? That'd be a big score, a big long word. Anything else? No? All right. Dwayne.
Just 2 small things. So tomorrow, our plan is probably tomorrow morning. I have a couple more changes. Of one thing I'm waiting for to get an answer on, and then my hope is I'll send the slides out in a kind of slides 2.0 for the annual meeting. We'll send those out probably tomorrow morning, so you have them for well in advance. You can take a look at them. We'll send the script out again too, just so everybody just remembers which articles they're doing. After the annual meeting, so there's a form we have to do for the state, which we have to do every year. The report of what actually passed appropriations as voted is what the form is called. So we'll have that completed, hopefully ready to go, and we'll have it in the SAU for signatures on Monday following the annual meeting.
Any questions, comments for Dwayne?
I just wanted an update on I was just looking for an update on the replacements of faucets and everything in the testing phases and all that.
Yeah, I have a meeting, and it's either going to be Monday next week or Tuesday. I can't remember which we scheduled on. Dave and I are going to go over what we did over break, and then we just have to reschedule with the state and test it like it's a brand-new location. So that's our plan. I think we're all done. February break, I think we took care of what wasn't done as part of the project, and then our plan is to retest. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll have that done.
Okay. And the Bow Drinking Water Committee, are we going to pull them in to help with the testing?
We've done that once. We've done 2 rounds of testing ourselves. So I think, well, I'll ask, but I think our plan is we'll just do it. But if we need help, we'll ask, sure.
Yeah. Thanks, Dwayne.
Dwayne, under the Closing Out BES project,
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit what happens if we don't do any of these additional things? What happens to those funds?
So we have a contract with the construction manager for the project. That contract isn't closed yet. After we take out, so that they build into their guaranteed price certain like contingencies and things like that. So an example of that is if they are working in inclement weather, they'll have, bad weather contingencies. We used virtually none of that. They'll have contingencies in there if they find something when they're digging the foundation. So there's a bunch of those throughout the project. And I think as we've said, as the project's gone along, we didn't really find anything surprising. We also had bids come in from subcontractors that came in really aggressive. So we have money left in that contract when we close it out. So what we'll want to do is, because the bond was sold for a certain amount of money, at a minimum, we're going to spend that amount of money. What we're not going to do is require the full withdrawal from the capital reserve fund. So that we won't touch and we won't spend. We'll spend some of that, but we won't spend the full appropriation that we were granted. So we'll come in April. We'll have a sheet, in my envision, we'll have a sheet of here's what the actual construction of the project was. That's under the construction bond amount by so much, and then these are some projects that we're thinking about doing. And a lot of those projects are things that, it's like replacing doors in the old part of the building. It's nothing really, I wouldn't call it like structurally significant. It's more things that we have the opportunity to do this now, something that we would probably do down the road at some point, and we can do it now. The big thing over the summer is probably the biggest part of the project that isn't done is the transformer switchover. So we're replacing the transformer in the building. That's going to happen. Our hope is in June, right after school gets out, everything's scheduled. Why I say, that's an important thing is we have to shut the power off at the pole to both buildings. So there's going to be a time where both of those buildings are not going to have any power. So we want to get it done fast, and we want to get it done as soon as school's out so that we have the summer to do all the other things that we want to do, both at the elementary school and the memorial school. So.
Excellent. Any other questions for Dwayne? Jessica, anything to add to your report?
Sure. So I will add to the professional development entry that I have there about paraeducators. That presenter was at that case conference that I went to in the fall in Savannah. I had commented at the time that was a great networking event, but that I found our regional professional development and learning opportunities to be really robust. At that time, at that conference, people were eating out of this guy's hand. Like, they loved him, and our region got him to come and present to all of us. So that just sort of shows what I was saying back then, that our region takes professional development and learning opportunities for us very seriously. So it's great to have him, and he has awesome stuff to add. It's a 3-part series about paraeducators and making sure that we're focused on student independence when we utilize that support. So it's pretty cool that we got that here in the area.
Nice.
Jess, so as an educator myself, I read this and I was like, the detrimental effects of unnecessary paraprofessional proximity. Can you explain what that means?
Absolutely. So when you're in a classroom full of students and you have a teacher teaching in front of the classroom and you have a paraeducator who's also close to one student or a small group of students, it can prevent that student from participating in the group or for the teacher to interact with that student sometimes. So the detrimental effects of the para being near that student all the time is that they sometimes become over-reliant on adult supports. Sometimes they look to the paraeducator as like the lead teacher in the room when they're not necessarily the lead teacher in the room. So for example, saying, can I go to the bathroom without asking the teacher? So sometimes there can be a social effect on that individual who isn't participating necessarily with their peers. Of course, this is in certain situations, right? So it's the over-reliance on that support. There are students who do need that support and that is required. So it's more about balance and making sure that the paraeducators who are working with students are focused on building a mindset of independence and not over-reliance or dependence. So if you're in the role of paraeducator, you can sometimes think, it's my job to be everything for this kid to help them be successful, and that's the opposite of what we're trying to foster.
Okay, because, again, like, I think I understand where you're coming from. I think that a parent reading this could be concerned. So when you're saying that, how I hear it is like when you're a parent, right? Your job is to make your child as independent as possible, but you're keeping those supports there as they're learning, right? That's scaffolding, right? So I just want to make sure, because just some of the ways that it was said, if people read it, it just kind of came off as maybe that it would make them concerned that it's like resetting of mindsets or anything. But these are not kids that are absolutely like needing a one-on-one paraprofessional, right? Like that.
Yeah, so it would be for kids who need one-on-one paraprofessionals. We just want to be cautious of how we utilize that support so that we're focusing on the student's independence. So it is the same as you're describing it as a parent, right? That you want to make sure your student or your child has functional independence as they age.
Okay.
So when it's not appropriate, you back off, and when it is appropriate, you step forward. And it's it's a nuanced relationship piece that takes a lot of coaching.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But the paraprofessional's still involved, still there?
Of course, yeah, that's
It's-
the whole point of the service.
It's not an idea of like, just think independent thoughts and you'll be good.
No. No, it's about making sure the paraeducator knows that they are working toward making that student more independent and not even needing them, right? So that we would reassign you to another student who does need you doesn't mean you have to really work and make sure that you're always with that kid. They have to be independent too.
Okay, this is, I think, something interesting. I was also wondering about, I think one thing that would be great, so at the beginning of the school year, we started doing some, like Owen put on a presentation about our scores, and there were some other presentations that we had as well, not just students, but other stuff. And I didn't know about maybe having something with your role to give like a presentation too at the beginning of a meeting or something too, about, something like this, like explaining this or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens in student services, so I'm open to the idea.
I think one of the important things to remember is that those conversations happen with parents at the table, right?
Yeah.
So in those meetings, it's not that we're pulling back on support, one, either unnecessarily or without parent input. So these are conversations that are happening because together the team wants to make sure the child's building on independence.
Mm.
Yep.
No, I think it sounds interesting, for sure.
Anything else, Melanie?
No, thank you.
All right, Owen, any questions about Owen's report? I know Owen's not here, but any comments, questions? No, okay. Moving right along, Lori, anything to add to your report? You need the microphone.
I'm just going to take a little bit about Beth's thunder. I'll let you do the other half. But there was the community wellness event at BES on Tuesday night. That was also an opportunity for people to come in and see the building. I think it went really well. Beth organized an amazing evening. And it was really wonderful to see our fourth graders were the tour guides. So if someone came in and wanted to see the building and hadn't seen it, the kids had a great checklist that Beth and Melissa Young had organized with the kids. It was nicely attended. It would have been great to have more, but I think for the first community event ever for wellness, it was really well. It was also nice. A lot of middle school kids came through, and they were quite amazed to see what their old school looked like. So, but otherwise, I have nothing to add to my report. So,
Nice.
Thanks.
Any questions, comments?
Just one. So congratulations on you guys moving forward for
the Eddies, yep, for the
Yeah, the
Hampshire
Eddies.
Elementary School of Excellence, yep.
Have we gotten any?
We have a date, but we're negotiating it. So they picked a date when they want the committee who was there to be there. And ironically, they picked a date when 6 of us are at a PD day or a family wedding. So they said to me they'd get back to me tomorrow. Like I had checked, I know someone on the board. in our building. And I said, how bad is it for me to ask for a new date? She goes, it's not bad. So it was March 27th, but it will probably be the week after, based on inside info.
And are we going to be able to ever see that presentation?
We sent it out to the teachers. There's, you can't see the presentation. We did voiceover. I can send it to you guys as a board. I don't really know that, honestly, it plays well in public. Not that it's not good, it's just not, yeah. It was hard to replicate the whole piece together, but we did share it with people. So,
Well, congratulations.
thank you. We look forward to the next step.
Anything else, Melanie?
Nope.
Adam, anything to add to your report?
I really don't have a lot to add to my report today. I would just plug the 26th. I know, shock and awe. March 26th is a big day. The high school and the middle school have a combined concert that day. We typically do a Music in Our Schools month presentation, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Usually it goes back and forth between the gym and the auditorium, and just would plug that. It's a worthwhile evening out. Other than that, March is just a really busy month where you start thinking about the town meeting. This year we have 4 retirements, so I'm thinking a lot about my brain is kind of going into that posting for positions in next year and internal moving parts and lots of that stuff. So not a lot to add.
Nice. Melanie? No? No?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
So I was just wondering if we have any updates on the Speed Pass 2.0.
It appears to be going well with the kids. I mean, there's a lot of data in there. Now, the data almost becomes like kind of overwhelming, where when you take it in totality, there's just so many passes that will go out in a given day. I think where it's going to be helpful is when you look at the kids specifically who may need some additional supports, because I don't think I would ever have the time to look at and analyze every individual student's pass, and that was never the intent anyway.
No.
The intent was always, okay, where are your outliers? And are your outliers, is there a need there? And we're already seeing that, like there's about 4 kids who are at like 3 hours and 30 minutes or more of pass time out in a couple of weeks. That's a lot of time.
Wow.
Whereas the average time is minuscule, you know, they're just, so it's like, how do you then get the assistance that those kids are probably going to need to them? So I think that part is going to be helpful. I'm not hearing a lot of complaints from anyone. In fact, maybe it's because we rolled it out a second time, and I think people are like, well, okay, I guess we're going to do it. But I'm not hearing a lot of feedback. I do think it's something we should take a look at internally towards the end of the year, because I think we sort of promised that when we did that, you know. And if it isn't doing what we want it to do, I don't think there's any shame in saying, well, we'll just step back from it. But if it does deliver what we think it will, then we should continue with it. But it's an eyes wide open type of analysis. So let's revisit it again in June.
That's already, it sounds like you got some pretty good data.
We
there
definitely getting
to help
data.
3 or 4 students. That's
Well, and I think it'll be more than that, honestly, over time, because you'll see trends. I mean, that's what you're really looking for. The question will be, is the effort worth the data you're getting? And I think it will be. I really do. But I'm also not an end user. I'm not using it every day. So I think it's important to, ask teachers, how invasive is it in your classroom? To just to take a good, solid look at it. So, but so far, so good.
Well, thanks.
You bet.
I want to say one other thing. So my kids don't usually participate. Well, I have 1 kid who does, 2 who are absolutely against doing any of the Spirit Week stuff. And I wanted to say that the staff brought their A game on the day that they had to dress as students, so much so that I have to tell you guys, like seriously, we couldn't talk about anything else for dinner for 2 nights at least, because they had to tell us what every single teacher was doing, how the 8th grade team walked in and they had the pink drink. I don't even know what that is. They were going crazy. Melissa Valance was apparently jumping up and smashing every door frame, saying something like, I don't know, maybe skibbity, I don't know. But anyways, they rocked it so much that I had all 3 kids the next day, like engaging in Spirit Week. It was probably one of the funnest, like, 2 dinners of, like, listening to how ridiculous you guys all were in the best way possible, ridiculous. It was just wonderful.
That was a really fun week. Student council did an unbelievable job with it. They did a great work.
Nice. Matt, anything to add?
Just quickly, we are obviously planning for end-of-the-year events. We have 2 great junior class advisors, Dan Nattori and Joe Conti, who are working with students to plan the prom, which this year is going to be at the Bank of New Hampshire stage in downtown Concord. So Dan and Joe have been doing a great job. Our senior class advisors, Jacob Ross and Lucy Kaup, they have been terrific, doing a lot of planning with the students, listening to students' ideas. So all 4 of them have been terrific to work with. I would add to the report that on March 19th, we are one of only 4 schools in the nation that will be hosting the Army National Guard's Mission Day. And that's an opportunity for our students to learn about different careers that are tangentially connected to the National Guard. So it's a really cool thing that we're one of the only schools in the country that has that going on. And then, as Adam said about Music in Our Schools Month, we have many concerts coming up. We host Large Group Festival. And on Friday the 14th, we have a world-renowned pianist who we are fortunate to not have to pay a cent to have come here and play for our kids. So we're super excited for that.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Ellen? No?
No?
Moving right along. Chris, anything to add to your report?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add at this point. I'll just mention one thing. We're doing a lot of refinements with Alma, standardizing permission sets for staff members, and then we're taking a long, hard look at documenting our internal processes so that they can be referenced by staff members. That's all I got.
Nice. Any questions for Chris? Chris, you note in here an AI committee, and I have 2 kids in college, and I've been with both of them recently. I was with my daughter in college's boyfriend recently, and I can't stress enough how this AI is so important that we get in front of it. And I mean, we didn't talk about any of the, let's call it the bad things associated with AI. It's unbelievable how these college kids are using AI. I mean, they're just sitting there with their phone in a lecture, and it's taking an outline of all the notes. They're doing, I've got a paper, they say it in there, they get an outline of what they should do, it'll write the paper for them. I mean, obviously they're tricky issues, but I mean, it is absolutely coming, like barreling down the tracks. And it sort of reminds me of when we think of our own education, like memorizing the state capitals and all that sort of thing. And I know schools have kind of got away from that with the idea being, well, why memorize stuff? You have it in your fingertips with a phone. There's no point. Do other sorts of things. And it feels like it's on that level of importance of, what society is going to be like in 10 years. And I just say all that because hopefully Bo can be out in front of it as best we can.
Right.
So we're trying to, right? That's how part of the way.
Tough subject, I mean.
No, it's enormous, right? That's how one of the things we opened the year with, and what we'd asked each of the schools to do is have their own building level committee, because depending on the age level, you're doing different stuff. And that's also why we signed on with Conmigo for students 5 through 12 and then staff. And so then we also wanted to have this district committee to come together, one, to share ideas, and then to kind of do exactly what you're talking about. How can we even get in front of it, because it's moving so fast. And at our district meeting, which was, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, kind of came to the conclusion that we're a little bit stuck, right? So teachers, I think, and any of you, please speak up, find it useful if they're using it. I think the tricky part is how, trying to move past somehow that kids are just going to have them do the work for them. And I think that changes how we present information or how we give assignments, even knowing that kids, yep, they're going to use this, or for this assignment you can use it, but sighted or whatever. I'm not sure what that is. Next week, we're going to visit Bedford High School. They've been pretty immersed in AI for, I think, a couple of years now. That they have a really well thought out policy. They signed on with a different provider of AI. I don't think that may or may not make a difference. I'm not sure. But just to see kind of how they got past that piece of not cheating, but not wanting to take away the learning process for a student. And so it's really hard. It's hard. You can see the benefit in it, but you can also understand where people are coming from, that somehow it's not, certainly not, well, what people think, I think, is maybe there's not rigor, or they're just going to plug it in and it's going to spit something out for them because it can do that, right? So we're definitely on it and trying to see how we can get more people to just embrace it, because it's definitely here. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Moving on, anything related to Mike Desolate's report? No? I have two things. Whatever happened with the football, is that job has somebody been retained? Or I know there were interviews. Yeah? Oh, nice.
As I think the person came in on, I know the person came in on Tuesday or Wednesday, it was either yesterday or Tuesday, and finalizing the paperwork to be officially hired, but that has been.
Nice. And I'll give just a quick shout out to the wrestling team who won the state championship. And I'm not a wrestling guy at all. In fact, I grew up in the Midwest where the basketball team and the wrestling team sort of competed for fans. And I read the article in the Concord Monitor, and it's really unbelievable. I mean, if you guys haven't read the article, I mean, it sounds like these guys that haven't had an enormous amount of success have, like, 7 guys on the team have their best night of their lives, and all of a sudden, out of kind of nowhere, they won the state championship. Like, it wasn't just 1 or 2 guys. Like, it's an amazing article. I mean, and so my hat's off to that wrestling team and the coach and everything, because it was like, it sounds like they like struck lightning in a bottle on this day, and maybe the old paper is sensationalizing it. I don't know, but it's amazing.
Dwayne could talk for probably a half an hour about this, but I think he puts it well when the kids who were seeded came in where they were supposed to or higher, but it was really the ones who weren't who just rose to the occasion and got some points for the team. Is really pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Beth, anything to add to your report? I see your daughter up on stage earlier. Yeah? Nice.
I will add something. One of the things Beth talked about for a subsequent wellness fair is the idea of piggybacking on something that's already happening. So this year, the high school had some organizations come to their open house, and so we thought about that, having some of these organizations come to open houses where families are already there. So that might be something we explore.
Nice. Anyone? Anything for Beth? No? Student school board report. Gentlemen, anything to add to your report?
Oh, I do.
I was just wondering if you can give an update on how the robotics did, because you mentioned that they were in states this last week? Okay. If you guys know.
That's happening this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday. Okay, I couldn't tell if it was, okay, perfect. Well, good luck.
Very nice. And Trevor was jealous. Trevor's a longtime French horn player. I don't know why I know about when you started playing French horn, but yeah, but big band member. Choir too, or just band?
No,
just band. I played valve trombone and all the way through high school and was in the choir, but I would convince my parents to let me quit my senior year because it was my worst grade in class, because whenever the teacher was working over here with like the sopranos, I'd be fooling around with my friends chit-chatting, and I'm like, what do you care? We're whispering and stuff, and like it hurt my grades, so finally I convinced my parents to let me quit. So my senior year I didn't do it.
Trevor was in the paper recently. I don't know if you saw that. You were the recipient of an award.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I didn't know I was in the paper either. I still haven't seen the article, but I think it was for the Daughters of the American Revolution one. So we have a ceremony tomorrow, and they announce like the first and second place state winners, and so that's
nice. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Matthew, do you also play an instrument?
I play piano, but that's not like a band instrument, so yeah.
Yeah, but that's still great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hard. Got to learn to read music that way. All right, moving on to the action agenda, manifests and vouchers. Looks like Angela.
What do I have to do? Just read the number or make a motion?
Yes,
Just read the number?
no, you say,
For the period ending in.
yeah.
For the period ending January 31st, 2025, $3,489,149.12.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have no resignations, retirees, or new hires, and we're going on to a final read of policy BEA. Marcy, anything to add since the last time we met?
There's nothing to add to this policy since the last time we met.
I guess we'll have a motion to approve, and then we'll discuss it. Motion to approve policy BEA.
I'll make a motion. Yep.
A second.
I'll second it.
Second.
Any additional discussion? No?
Yes?
Oh,
So I just want to state again, I feel strongly that, that even though some people might not want to hold on to it for longer than a month, I feel that transparency is more important, and that the town hasn't had a mandate that they have to actually post it for 5 years. And so I think a month doesn't look as transparent as we could maybe look. I think that it's important for building trust with the community to have that out there.
The policy doesn't say a month. I didn't read that.
it doesn't
No,
have a
it doesn't,
deadline.
but that's what we discussed. It also doesn't, so this is the important thing, right? Is if we have it all loosey-goosey, right now, we could say, oh, yeah, this is what we're going to do. But people want to see it in writing. And I think then they feel more comfortable knowing that what we say we're going to do is actually what we're going to do. I mean, we're all watching the news, right? We know a lot of people who make great promises that don't actually come to fruition. So I think it would be a better move for us as a school board to say that we will not only live stream it, we will videotape it, we will keep it posted for, I think, again, at least a year. I also feel that, that it's, hold on, that it's, hold on, to keep it for at least a year. And if it's going to be edited because something is said that shouldn't be said, we can edit it before it gets posted, and just be transparent about what we edited and why. That's my 2 cents.
So you obviously feel pretty passionate about this. I don't think the rest of us have a passion about it at all. So I think we're all fine with a year. I think we're fine with that. With one.
Yeah, we need the discretion to say, I mean, I guess you can just edit it, but take out chunks of it. That feels not transparent.
Well, I think we need to come up with some wording around that. I think that we shouldn't be taking out, if somebody says somebody's name, that little section can be taken out and we can say, it was edited here because a student's name was said. That shouldn't have been. And that's it, just be very transparent. I think we have an opportunity to build trust. And that's what that does.
But you're acting like we're against you, and none of us are against you.
I'm
So
not
you're
saying you're
acting like
against.
we're not being transparent, and
I'm
you
not-
are.
no.
We're all on the same page. We all say that's fine. Okay,
Bryce.
a year's great.
Bryce, last month, you guys all said that you felt that 1 month was enough.
I did not. I said I'm fine with any amount.
Okay.
In fact, there's a video that
I
says
know.
that.
Great. Okay, it did come up that 1 month was enough. Maybe it wasn't you that said it.
If I
I'm
may
just
now-
saying again, I think at least a year would be better, that's all.
I'm the one who suggested the month because part of what I shared with the board, what the board asked me to do was to check in with our area schools to see what those school districts were doing, and that was what one of the districts were doing. Most are not recording or streaming their meetings, but one who had a practice of holding on to it for a month. One of the reasons is we have really detailed meeting minutes, and so that I felt comfortable with that. If you look at our town minutes, they're very different than school district minutes. So I'm not married to anything, but that's where that suggestion came from.
Well, so I'm just saying, I think we should consider longer and maybe putting some
I
wording
mean, there's
on it.
not considering longer, because the policy has no time frame. So it's not considering longer, it's deciding to put a time frame in the policy. That's how I'm fine with that, but that's what the discussion should be, not making it longer, because right now it's forever. So it's actually making it shorter.
If it's forever, that's
Well,
fine
there's
too.
no time to take it down and listed in the policy.
I just think that whatever we do, we should write it.
Sure.
Does anyone mind it being a year?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Then, Wendy,
That's what
please have the minutes reflect that the board all agrees that the superintendent should keep these for a year or more. I will say that, Marcy, there are some laws on this sort of thing, like video recordings and things like that, and I don't know the answer to this, but we may be required to keep it a certain amount of time. It may be longer than a year. And, to change those minutes, for example, in some rare circumstance, we may need to put like notice to do that, all those sorts of things. Honestly, I don't know. I would check with our lawyer on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is because of
Records retention.
Yeah, record retention, we may have a requirement to keep it a certain amount of time, which could be greater than a year. I don't know.
But, so my question is, and I don't care either way, but are we gonna, put a time in the policy? Like, is that what we're doing now, like, before we approve this policy? Or are we just saying the plan is to keep it up a year, this policy doesn't have a time?
Or at least a year or 5 years or whatever you guys are indefinitely, but I just think it should be like really just stated.
I don't believe we can, because this is a second read.
Right.
I think if we were to do that, we couldn't approve this, and we would have to wait yet another month.
days.
So as far as I'm concerned, we have it in the meeting minutes, it's on the video. That's the expectation, at least a year.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I don't know if I am. I'll have to think about that.
But we have to vote, I mean,
I
so
know. I'm
so you're thinking right now?
I'm
Okay.
thinking right this second.
Because I
All
think
right.
the other option is if we don't adopt the policy today, just to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Then the policy that's brought forth at the town meeting, we will likely pass, and that will be the policy we adopt. And that also doesn't have a time frame. So, does it? I don't think it does. It does not. So, just,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way that it gets in the policy. We can amend the policy down the road, but I don't think there's a way, just so you don't have to think too long, that an actual amount of time gets in a policy for video recording in the month of March.
Okay. I want to look at the policy again, though, to make sure that if what we said about editing it or anything, if
It's not in there.
it's not in there either.
We don't want to pressure you.
Okay.
You want us to take a recess and give you like 10 minutes or something?
Or can we vote on it in towards the end of the meeting?
Sure.
Okay, that's right.
We'll table the pending motion for later in the meeting, although we probably only have like 5 minutes
No,
left
I'm
in the
just
meeting.
I'm just gonna look it over myself right now.
Public comment. Get that man a microphone.
All right.
Oh, he ran up the steps.
That's where I'm supposed to be. That's okay. I'll keep it quick, keep it brief. I had a question about the leftover money. Can that from the project? I love that there is that, but is there a possibility of spending that at other schools in the district on other projects, or is it required to be spent on a particular thing?
So it's coming out of the Capital Reserve Fund, which could be used on any of the different schools, and so it just stays in the fund. You know what I'm saying? So if what we don't use, we could spend on basically any other facilities
There was
project.
something about the bond, though.
But
and
I thought the bond money was
seek
spent.
clarification of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, what we're going to come back in April for approval is going to be funds that are from the bond, and the bond has to be used at the elementary school.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that.
The capital reserve fund, Bryce has right, that any money that isn't expended from that authorization stays in the capital reserve, and that can be used at all three buildings. But the specific money from the bond, which is the 12.4 million bond that was approved, that is elementary specific because that's how the warrant article was written.
Okay, thank you.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
So how much money is that we essentially have to spend, do you know, roughly?
So the construction roughly, I don't actually know that for sure. I don't know.
$50,000.
It's more than that.
No, I meant within 50.
Oh,
your
within
range.
50? It's probably close to 200.
Okay, I was just curious.
After all all those things came back.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. Yep.
Sorry, Judd.
No, that's okay. I was just giving you a quick little Malone report, and I'll keep it brief. But the wellness day was really fun. Or evening was a lot of fun. It was good to get in there and see the updates and all of that. We appreciated it. My kid was one of the guides and took the first opportunity he had to hand me off to another guide. But Tristan did a wonderful job of guiding me around. So thank you, Tristan. And my kids are still tootling kazoos around the house. And lastly, my kid that was pretty outspoken about SmartPass hasn't said boo to me about it at all. So I think the re-rollout was taken better, and I appreciate that re-rollout. So thank you.
Tough loss last night, too, for your daughter and the girls' basketball team being upset.
Yeah, that was too bad. Some co-brown this is never fun.
True, true.
Dwayne, it's your fault.
Any other public comments? Oh.
Ben Davis, Nine Wheeler Road. I've sat through a lot of these meetings, and I've listened to the discussion about the recordings and everything, and I tend to agree that it should be clear in the policy to say it is going to be kept for X amount at least. And I understand you all agree with that, and I think I can see Melanie's concern that it might not be specifically listed in the policy and the editing policy. That should probably be part of what is voted on and put into policy. I don't know, I think it's important to have them on and available for quite a bit of time. I go back and I binge watch select board meetings, and and I'll go back 3-4 months sometimes, and if they're only on for a short amount of time, I miss out. But I've gone back and just checked out things from a year or two ago on certain things if they've come up. But I just think it's important to be very clear when you guys do vote on whatever policy you put out there to have that specific information in there. Thanks.
Generally speaking, do the rest of you I'm fine with that down the road, putting it in the policy. Do you guys care? I mean, so
Yeah,
we'll revisit it in
For me,
April.
I guess my opinion would be, I think since we have it written without it, it would be, I think, wise to see how it goes and what we want, and maybe a year is not enough. Maybe we want to expand it with laws, with those kind of things, that there may be opportunities that, kind of like the SmartPass, that we start this and we don't have something and we get more specific as we kind of move forward with it, and what do people want, what use are we getting out of it, is the public watching it, that kind of stuff. So I think it's...
So you're thinking, for example, when the school year starts back up in August, we put this on the agenda to revisit whether we should amend the policy at that time?
Actually, I think that's a great
fine.
idea,
It's fine
because
with me.
like you were saying, we probably should check with the lawyers, because if we put a year in the policy, but it's actually, there's a law, we have to keep it for 5 years, then our policy's not correct anyway.
Right.
I guess we should, if we're going to put a specific time frame, we should look into what the legalities of that are.
You good with August? Sure. Marcy, then in our August meeting, if you can put the revisiting this policy on our agenda, if you don't mind, please. Awesome. Great. Good comment. Anyone else? No? All right. Generally, the administration leaves if they so desire at this point, although we'll be really quick. I have a feeling at 5, the next section. But feel free. I think we'll just power through while you guys are leaving. Policy Committee, we haven't met since our last meeting. Negotiations, anything to add? I assume no?
Nope.
Budget, Martin, anything to add since the budget hearing? No? Town CIP, nothing to add. District CIP, nothing to add. Wellness, Jenna, anything? I assume no? Future Ready Schools, Martin, Melanie?
Not met.
What's that?
Have not met.
Okay. Transportation, Dwayne, anything you want to add?
No, it's going great.
Excellent. New Hampshire School Board Association? No, maybe.
Busy. It's busy.
Yeah, maybe Marcy, you want to touch base on just that fire drill we had in the last, 48 hours on that bill? That the.
SB 297, so
Yeah.
on managed risk pools. Dwayne, it's a financial piece, so Dwayne's probably better to speak on it than I am. But Health Trust, Primex, I mean, they were represented in testimony. New Hampshire School Board Association will certainly issue something following testimony, but it would have potentially a big impact on municipalities.
The only thing I would say is there.
Start off though 50,000 feet. I don't think anybody else knows anything about
So, managed risk pools were started many, many decades ago when they're administered through the Secretary of State's office. We belong to two of them. Both Health Trust and Primex are risk pools. A risk pool basically takes a lot of political subdivisions, so counties, municipalities, school districts, cities, towns, and then those special water districts and things like that. They can all join one of the risk pools, and the idea of that is you're going to have this entity manage an insurance program through some other vendor. So, for example, Health Trust reps both Anthem insurance plans and Northeast Delta dental plans. And the risk and the cost of running those programs is spread over all of the member groups. This bill is specific around how much a risk pool should have on hand in reserves in case their actuarially assessed rates, something happens and they don't collect enough money. So you should have some kind of, for lack of a better word, fund balance. For them, it's called a capital reserve. You should have some amount of money there when those things happen. This bill is specific around that, and there's a concern by the Secretary of State's office as part of the hearing that some of the pools potentially have been charging lower rates than they should have been to protect the market share that they have through the political subdivisions. When you get actuaries involved, the same set of numbers can be looked at differently by two different actuaries. I know that we were returned a significant amount of money post-COVID because no one went to the doctor. This is very simplistic, but Health Trust had a massive amount of money in reserve because no one went to the doctor and there were much less claims. A lot of money got returned. Essentially, a few years after that, all of their rates spiked. We had a big spike last year, 20-something%. Some of that was all of that catch-up claims. And so it's very complicated. I think it's very complicated. They, in the rates right now for Health Trust is a 5.3% capital reserve charge to build back up their capital reserve. So I think the pools are already doing this, but some of it is cooperation between the pools and the regulators through the Secretary of State's office. It was a long hearing to listen to. I did it in various chunks. It was over 2 hours long. But I would encourage, if you want to get a perspective from the pool, there's a statement on Health Trust website that shows what their response to this bill is. Primex has a statement as well. Those are the two pools we belong to. School Care is another one, and then there's a smaller pool called the Interlocal Trust in the southern part of the state. All of them were were represented at the hearing and spoke.
But the issue is, like, the big issue is what happens if something
Oh, sure.
happens, and then mid-year, a municipality could be required to come up with a pile of money.
Yeah, one of the things in the bill is if at any time during the year, it is found that the reserve falls below a certain level, and in the bill, I think it's between, the pool has to have between 12 and 16% of potential claims. I'm not sure what that 12 and 16% is based on, but they have to have a certain amount, and if it falls below that, the pool can be required to send invoices to the political subdivisions payable within 30 days, which is not how we or the municipalities operate. You set a budget. Now, one of the questions that was asked is there are unexpected expenses that come up every year. Yes, that's absolutely true, but to have an expense come like that payable in 30 days is, I think that was a problem for all of the pools. Said that's kind of an issue, like, and the band was too narrow, and one of the pools wanted it, instead of be 16%, they wanted it to be 20. But I think something is probably going to pass, and one of my guesses is that the pools are potentially going to be moved from the oversight of the Secretary of State to the Insurance Department, which kind of makes sense.
The other concern is that nobody knew about it. This is a very, very late, an oddly late bill.
Very late. This is a very, very late bill, and it was filed by the Senate President, which means
On
it's
Wednesday.
got a lot of pull to it. So it was obviously something came up, and they filed it because there's a deadline for filing bills, and this is way after that deadline. But it was felt that it needed to be filed.
So the hearing was Tuesday?
Yep.
And did they vote to?
No, they didn't. I don't believe they execed it. It was a combined Senate committee. It was Senate Finance and one of the other committees. I'm not sure which one, but Senator Gray from Rochester was the person who chaired the committee, and he basically gave out a lot of homework to a lot of people, like, you need to check on this, you got to do that. So there's a bunch of info, I think, that needs to come back to the committee. So, but I feel like they want to have some more teeth in the oversight of the pools in statute, because right now there are no, there's oversight, but there's no like specific, you need to do X or this happened, stuff like that. So I think something's probably going to pass.
Any questions on that? I know it's complicated, but a bunch of people are running around for it.
Yeah, I mean, when you sent it, I was like, what is this? It wasn't a bill that was even being followed by New Hampshire School Administrators Association, as an example, because it just came out. No one, I mean, they're following just under 300 bills and had no idea about this one. So I'm thankful that the community member reached out.
Excellent. Athletic improvements and funding, nothing to add. Booster Club, anything to add?
I do, yeah. So we had a meeting, we brought up the issue of giving out seasons passes to parents of children that are in sports seasons that have had financial need and had their waiver. I don't know what the proper term is. The Boosters Club voted to approve that, so I guess we'll just have to figure out who does that and how we get passes to the parents.
Okay.
That's wonderful. So I have another question that was actually on my thing to ask you. So with the boosters, and all of the different, sports and schools and stuff, if these families, their kid is playing in another school, so you've said before, kids come here and they have to pay to go into a game, right?
Here, no, students are free, though.
But I mean, or parents of the other team.
Yes,
Is
there's
that how it
admissions.
works?
Yes.
So how are other, towns or schools doing it so that, parents in this situation, are anybody else dealing with this?
No,
or,
I've never heard of this.
No.
No.
So if parents want to go to another, town and watch their kid play? I'm
It's
just
up to that school.
They get charged for that.
Okay.
There's no universal there's no universal pass that will get you into regular season games. There are passes that get you into tournament games, but those are very few and far between. So there's no like universal pass system or anything. So you pay to get it.
Well, I'd just like to say officially, thank you, Angela, for doing that, and thanks to the boosters. I think that is a wonderful service.
Welcome. Glad to help.
Any public comment? All used up? All right. Any bottom lines for Marcy?
I have a couple. About a month or so ago, I put out on Facebook if any parents would use childcare. So like in our big annual meeting, we always have childcare available. And unfortunately, I don't have the numbers right now. It's a small N of like, I don't know, 100 and something people who replied. But there was still like over 50% that would say that they would take advantage of it. So I didn't know if this was something, and Matt, since you're sitting here still, something that we wanted to consider where maybe students doing community service or whatever, we could put together something.
So for the annual meeting, we do have students here, but we also have staff here. We don't have students unattended with people's children. So it's not just students who are here during that time. I don't know that it's something that we could do on a monthly basis. I don't know if you think differently.
We'd have to have staff.
We would definitely have to have staff there.
Or, I mean, like even just consider like within the community, if maybe there's a few parents that would volunteer. I just thought that this might be a need that we have, where people want to be more involved, people want to come, and this might be something that we can just consider and just throw out some ideas and see what ideas people have.
Student Senate normally runs that, and I'll say I don't know if this is like the overall trend and it'll continue this way, but my freshman year we had a ton of kids that needed to be watched, but last year there was barely anyone. And I mean, we're not.
That was at the annual meeting too?
Yeah, at the annual meeting. We do it only at the annual meeting, and I mean, I would see like this would be full and we'd have like 2 kids. So I don't know with the numbers that we get at meetings like this if we'd have anyone. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, so that's the thing, right? So I reached out and I just asked, and I want to say like 67 people like said yes out of like 100 and something.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
could just
a
be
huge amount, but maybe something whereas we have it so kids can come and they can play basketball. Or whatever it is, then they're not like, I don't want to come and sit with people I don't know. I'm just saying, this might be something we want to look into next year. I'm not saying we have the solution right now, but something that maybe where we can bring the community together too, so.
Yeah, and it could just be a problem too of like people aren't aware that we're doing it, and we could publicize it more, and that may help and bring more people, but yeah.
That's a good idea, Trevor. And then the boosters. So, thank you. That's it.
Marcy, I have one. So obviously, we're at the end of the winter sports season, and there's a flurry of senior nights. And many sports, they get basically a poster of the player, and we display it for their last game. But those posters are pretty expensive. And is there a way we can do something different when it comes to that? And again, the school doesn't do that. The parents of the players that are non-seniors on the team, they fund those sorts of things. But I have seen, as one idea, at some other schools, at the start of the sports season, you know how we have all the light posts up and down? I've seen where schools will have the seniors of that season on the light post, will have their own banner on the light posts. I have no idea what that would cost, but it's probably in the same ballpark, I would think.
Could be. I've seen that too. Dwayne and I actually talked, he may not remember, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the year, because every school seems to do it a little bit differently, some better, some not so great. And and the expense does obviously varies from year to year depending on how many seniors there are. So we've definitely had that conversation about how we can.
But even like, thinking about what Bryce said, even expense aside, if the parents.
Yeah,
bought
expense
the
aside.
banners, could we, like, would that be a possibility to hang them on the light?
To hang them on the
posts?
light
Or,
posts.
You know, because every senior sports team gets that. Like,
Mhm.
every sports, you see it, you know, there's not, so the banner's bought anyway, but it, like, we spent a lot of money on the banners and then they hung in there for the one game.
2 hours,
2 hours, and then it's like, the kids bring them home, which is fine. But it would be cool to either display them in the gym for the whole season, but you can't really do that for soccer and football because they can't really be out of the field. But
Right.
just doing something for the seniors, you know?
Sure.
All year.
All
Yep, all year. Yeah, I think that that's possible. Part of what I envision with all of the light posts is that we're going to have to be doing kind of annual maintenance of them. You've probably seen some that have, the wind has taken over or the sun. You could also alternate, because the other thing we have to do is get a lift. The lift that we have can't, is that right? The lift we have can't go out there. It doesn't have the tread to go out there. Thank you. But maybe the banners that are there exist, and maybe those just go a little bit lower, so it's easier. Or we just rent a.
Yeah, I was thinking just a little bit lower.
Yeah, we could do it lower, and then just buy the whatever those things are that hold them on the light posts. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I was with Jenna. I wasn't actually thinking the school buy them. I was thinking as long as the school's willing to put them up, I think the parents would still be willing to buy them.
Yeah.
But and it didn't have to be that. That's the only thing I could think of, because in the winter season it's easy. You could buy those the posters and put them in the gym just high up, you know. But
Fall and spring, the outdoor
but fall and spring, the outdoor sports is
Yeah.
is 2 of the 3 seasons.
One other thing to consider would be to include performing arts in that. Is that
Oh, that's a
at
great
some
idea.
point we have our seniors who participate in performing arts. I think that would be nice.
Yep, that's a great idea too.
I'm sorry.
And robotics.
And robotics. All the seniors.
Well, I think
Do they do like senior celebrations for those?
Do they for robotics?
I don't know about robotics, but I feel like at the spring concert, they always recognize the seniors,
Like
right?
Marcia said, the cost is the thing. Like, we have some teams that are much smaller, and some teams that are much larger. It would be great if, I love the idea of recognizing kids and
Yeah.
Yes.
let's do it. But the swim team, which is much smaller than, say, the indoor track team, it would be great if all the students were able to have that recognition at some point.
Right.
So I love
Well,
the idea of doing something.
yeah, and I would say we felt it a lot more with basketball than we do with soccer because it's a smaller team. So
Yeah.
there's less people spreading, like
Yeah.
paying for the cost of the
Yep.
banners, but it's fine. Like, again, it's part of it. But it'd
Well,
be
and-
great to do that.
And pretty quickly you get to, Matt, do you know, it's roughly one sport a year. It's what, 70% of the high school, right? Or it's at least 60%.
Yeah, at one point, when we did the numbers, and this is all 3 seasons, where we were
Yeah.
close to 200-something% participation.
Right, so my point being, like, you only have so many light posts, you know? We've got,
Like this lobby area here too, where like the AP Bio always makes all those posters and then hangs them up, and it's like I feel like it's a really cool central area that like you could just hang all the posters down. So because I was thinking the same thing, I don't think we have enough light posts for
Right, right.
Especially, and yeah,
Well, and I think another thing too is I like the idea of doing other things because I know everybody here loves sports, but there are a lot of kids that don't participate in sports, but they participate in the school in other ways. So to celebrate them all.
Totally not my point either. My point was you have like the Bo Pops, you know? Yeah, if the Bo Pops want to recognize their seniors, then they buy the posters and do it. If there's parents of the robotics team, the same thing. I mean, it's all,
That
this
sounds
isn't
great.
Falcon Boosters or anything. It's always the parents of the specific organizations, really. So I guess maybe put that on the agenda for June, because I think if we're going to do something, we're going to need to do it over the summer so it's ready to roll come the school year in August. So maybe think about it. I mean, we've just thrown out a couple ideas, but,
Dwayne and I have a couple ideas too.
and I go back to, obviously the parents would love it I would love it if we could figure out a better way to fund the sports stuff. I mean, you'd be surprised how much money parents have to shell out
I
over the
know.
course of
Yeah.
every season. And
Yep.
I would love to, frankly, write the check at the beginning of the year and be all set or whatever. It'd be a nice way to to figure all that out, but so far it's on the parents' backs. It's not the school does it, but
Yeah, I think that if there are these things that we're going to do as part of our school, it's just what we do, that there is a component of that could be the school. And then maybe it's a conversation of, I'm not making you uneasy, but if there's a team, a parent who wants to go a little bit above that, then maybe that's something we consider. I think that's something Dwayne and I can work on.
yeah. All right. Excellent. Any other bottom lines? All right. Unfortunately, we need to go into a non-public meeting. So do we have a motion to go into a non-public meeting subject to RSA 91-A
Wait, first we have to vote on that policy.
311? Oh, you want to do it now? Because we have to go back into a public session afterwards anyway. Do you rather do it before the
Why don't we
non-public?
just get it done? Yeah, why don't we just do it now?
Okay. Circling back to the pending motion to approve policy BEA, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed?
I'm opposed.
Oh, okay. The ayes have it. All right, moving on to the non-public meeting. Do we have a motion to approve RSA 91-A:311C?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Angela? Melanie?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Jenna?
Aye.
Bryce, aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, folks.
Why are you coming to me first? What I do?